Well, if everybody's ready, I want to first thank you all for being here today. For nearly a decade, a legal dispute has kept the city from taking on one of our city's biggest challenges, and one of the biggest challenges facing families living at Towne and Terrace. For residents there, it has been a frustrating, years-long journey. As the court cases have played out, residents have had to put up with far too much going on around their homes, from vandalism to neglect to violence. Now, I know that any excuse for why the city could not legally act means very little to a family that has had to put up with so much. And that is why today I am relieved to announce a settlement in the legal battle between the City of Indianapolis and Towne and Terrace Homeowners Association. The settlement addresses 3 points. First, it resolves every legal claim filed between the HOA and the city. Second, it allows the city to act as a voting member of the HOA. And third, it resolves the bankruptcy filing that has kept us from moving forward with a plan. This settlement is the latest in a series of big steps forward around housing issues across Indianapolis. We are raising our expectations for both the condition of properties and the responsibility of property owners. Today, once again, we say enough to the circumstances that lead our neighbors to feel trapped in substandard housing. And we're not done. There remains a lot of work to do at Towne and Terrace. But now the legal roadblocks are out of the way. The city pledges to work with Far East Side residents. That includes addressing immediate health and safety concerns. It includes reaching out to neighbors one by one. And over the long term, it means substantial engagement as we work to shape what comes next for this neighborhood. With that, I'll hand it over to Lakeisha Jackson, counselor for the 14th District and a consistent champion for the residents of Towne and Terrace and all of those living on the Far East Side. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon. The health and safety of my constituents is my top priority, which is why I'm proud to stand here today alongside the administration to announce that we have finally come to an end of what has been a difficult and decades-long legal battle. Today's message is of hope and advocacy. We are not here to point fingers or place blame, but our community and the residents living in Towne and Terrace need to know and understand that the owners of Towne and Terrace have failed them tremendously. That Towne and Terrace is made of not one single owner, but several individual owners because they are condos and our current state policy favors landlords over tenants. The work does not end here. The work has just begun. For too long, the neglect of Towne and Terrace has not been addressed, which has led us to unsafe and harmful living conditions for families. This settlement is a step in the right direction and allows the city to engage with residents to address these problems. No one deserves to live in these conditions. Everyone deserves a right to safe, decent, and affordable housing. And the residents living in Towne and Terrace deserves better. I would like them to know that we have not forgotten about them and that we are here for them. I'm grateful for the partnership of the administration and their commitment to advocating and providing resources to support tenants. In 2020, the city launched the Tenant Legal Assistance Project, TLAP, with Indiana Legal Services. TLAP connects tenants who believe their right to safe, secure, livable rent assistance have been violated with pro bono legal advice and representation. The city also provides ongoing financial support to Indiana Legal Services Eviction Avoidance Project, EAP, which began in 2018 and offers legal representation to tenants who are facing eviction. Any Marion County tenant who believes their legal rights may have been violated or who also is facing eviction can also access Tenant Information Hotline at 317-327-2228 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on business days. I am personally committed to continuing the work alongside the administration to ensure residents of Towne and Terrace have a better and brighter future ahead. I would like to thank Mayor Joseph Hossett, and as we know, Joe, thank you so much for your work. Deputy Mayor Jeff Bennett, Director Andrews and her team in DMD, and their continued commitment for their hard work on this project. As you heard, many decades. To my constituents in District 14, I promise to always fight with you and for you. I still believe that working together still works. Let's work together. Thank you and God bless. I now turn it over to Director Andrews of DMD.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Jackson. For too long, residents of this complex have endured substandard living conditions, from crumbling buildings and failing infrastructure to drug activity and gun violence. For too long, complex legal issues have held us back from improving the quality of life at this property. But today, as we have just heard, the city now has more influence over the HOA to improve conditions for neighbors. In the immediate future, that includes implementing more public safety measures, like the installation of added IMPD cameras and street lights as part of Operation Nightlight. We've set aside $5.4 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds to support community engagement, redevelopment, and public safety here at Towne and Terrace. And soon we'll conduct outreach with neighbors to connect them with critical services and community resources, which may include workforce programs, mental health services, and legal support, as Councilor Jackson just mentioned. In the past 6 years, working alongside neighborhood leaders and longtime residents, we've supported the demolition of Oak Tree Apartments, the designation of the Far East Side as a Lift-Indy area, the development of the Purple Line BRT route, and now the end of a decade-long legal battle with Towne and Terrace Corporation. Indianapolis is a city of neighborhoods, and together we will continue doing the work to uplift the Far East Side. We will now take questions.
Mayor, how does the city gaining a seat at the table with the HOA then bring pressure to bear or input that's actually going to result in improved lives for the folks who live out there?
Well, I think it's important first to underscore, Russ, in answer to your question, that heretofore we've had no voice at all. We've not had a membership on the HOA, and to have now a city representative at the table as the homeowners association is making decisions about the next steps, to have a strong advocate and a city voice at the table, I think will help HOA address the long-standing, larger-than-life concerns that too many of the residents of Towne and Terrace have been experiencing. So I want to make it clear, today's announcement is not a declaration of victory. It is a declaration of victory in the legal battle. But as I said in my remarks, this is just the beginning. We have a long way to go to resolve the issues that have for too long impacted. And for the city to now have a seat on the HOA will go, I think, a long way toward addressing those concerns.
You see the city buying up more properties out there?
Yeah, I'd have to turn that over to Jeff Bennett or to Ann.
And I would just say, Russ, we have two voices as it relates to the HOA. One is that ex officio member on the HOA board, which gives us a sort of a transparent look at the actions of the board, but we get to vote as HOA members. And so when it comes to things like snow removal in the wintertime, or grass mowing in the summertime, or street maintenance on those private streets, like those are the HOA's responsibility, and we get a chance to have a say in how HOA funds are spent to address those needs. It is likely the city will continue to acquire property. DMD owns 71 properties within the HOA boundaries, approximately 30 more outside the HOA boundaries. It's likely that DMD will come to own 4 more properties by the end of the year, and that's because those are properties that have gone through a tax sale and were unsold in tax sale, and so we would acquire them that way. Whether there would be proactive acquisition, I think first and foremost, Director Andrews' point about engaging one-on-one with residents is most important right now. But if there are vacant units that are available on the open market, those might be ones that would rise to a priority for DMD to continue to acquire.
How soon can residents expect to see you all out there?
Well, also, I think to add again to the membership of the HOA and kind of the power of that is that we're now able to put some cameras and lights in common areas. And so I think those changes will come very soon. We've already gotten approval for some of that. And so we hope that that will be kind of immediate steps. And then we think even in the next 30 days or so, we will be going door to door to see residents and to understand a little bit better about what type of services or other resources we can connect folks with.
Would that include health department to either look at occupied units or to make sure unoccupied units are boarded up?
Yes, absolutely.
And since a lot of these units are like 5 and 6 to a building, and there may be a couple dilapidated there, but if there's people living in there, the best you can do is board those up. You can't tear down that building till you own that whole building. So are there any demolition, or are there any buildings you own outright, or any demolition plans in the offing?
It's too early to say, so we really need to do kind of a full analysis. We are bringing on some experts. We've sought out some consulting services that could support us in our efforts and try to fully understand what the next steps would be. But certainly we have a receiver's plan that was originally court ordered in February of 21. We are no longer bound exactly to follow out that receiver's plan, but it is mentioned in the settlement agreement as something that we aspire to continue to carry out. And so the receiver's plan did lay out some of the units that were the most dangerous from a public health and safety perspective, and some of them do have demo orders on them.
Seeing that you've been at loggerheads with the HOA or the individual owners or the owners that exert undue influence over the rest of the property in the past, going forward, do you have complete faith that this HOA, to make up those owners, will be a good partner acting in good faith moving forward?
We're certainly very hopeful. This is the most hopeful and optimistic step that we've had, and I think we certainly are going in on our end with the full kind of hope that we can work together to make lives better in Towne and Terrace.
Combined with what's going on at Oak Tree, what would be the vision up there, let's say 5 years from now, not only with Oak Tree, but what you think you might be able to accomplish with Towne and Terrace?
I'll first start, but I'll let anyone else jump in. We did a vision plan at Oak Tree not long ago, and it was really inspiring to see a lot of neighbors participating in that, stakeholders from the Far East Side, and they came together with ideas like community spaces and other types of kind of community gathering resources like workforce development or a library. There are certainly all kinds of things that these sites could be. As you point out, they're very close together, and it certainly makes you think about some hope for the future. But we'll be working with residents. I think, though they are very different, Oak Tree and the Towne and Terrace site, in terms of being an HOA and condo units versus apartments, I think you could expect a similar type of engagement with residents to understand what next steps would be.
Let me, Russ, finally, your questions are all, I think, quite insightful about kind of where we go. I think it bears emphasizing before we dismiss that prior to today, we've just been at a standstill. And so I think it is fair to say we have a long way to go, and we have a lot of decisions to make, and we have a lot of people to listen to and to hear from, and a lot of plans need to be put in place. But the significance of this announcement today is the litigation is finally over. And we can and are, for the first time in a decade, in a position to go forward. And that's exactly what the city intends to do.
And stay right here, Mr. Mayor, I want to say something too. What Mr. Mayor just said too, the residents needed our help, and they still need our help. 10+ years ago, we went in to help. We could not help because of the litigation. So many thought that the city didn't care or didn't want to move forward to help. The litigation stopped what we could do. The message is today that we do care. Help is here. The litigation is over. We have work to do to move forward to help the residents. That's the message we want to take out today. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. Well done. Well done.